Hello, live tubers. So I got a message about moderation tools. Okay. I'm going during the live, as soon as I started the live, I'm going to have to figure those out after the live. I don't think during the live is the appropriate time for that to happen for me. Anyway, but that's probably the best way to get folks to notice that such options are available. It's probably during the beginning of their lives. But then it sends you to a video. Anyway, baby, I'm here to talk about some virgins, some 304's, and some other things. And we ended Judges today. Oh my gosh, with some more virgins. But I'm so glad that we are done with Judges, reading through the book. I'm glad to have read the book, to see all the shenanigans. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I'm so glad this didn't happen in actual real life. And yeah, Judges was brutal. Anyway, our concentration right now, and I did a whole different reflection on the one we did today, but we're not going to go through that today because we're going to have enough getting through these virgins. Oh, honey. Okay. So I paused. I'm just going to go through the questions like they hit me, and then we'll talk about it. So I realized in Judges, I said, my gosh, they keep talking about these virgins, and they keep having these sacrifices and these rituals, and they keep having these 304's, and now they're adding concubines and things of that nature. Oh, okay. Go on and talk to me. Let's go through it. Oh, Makoa, Makoa, Amun Ra. I love the name. Amun Ra, one of the Egyptian gods. I've got my Egyptian book on me, actually. People don't really know what they're saying when they say amen. Anyway, Amun Ra. Okay, welcome, baby. All right, so I asked Google some questions. Google is my friend. Sometimes I got to tell Google, listen, that's not true. I know otherwise, because it just gives you what other people feed it, and then they give you the more simple version versus the complex version. So you got to sometimes re-ask different ways. I said, how many times in this Bible do they mention, and I'm talking about the 66 book one, not the Ethiopian one, and all the scriptures for them? It says virgin and virgins come up a lot in scripture. Sometimes literally, young unmarried women or those of purity. And sometimes symbolically, purity, covenant, faithfulness, brides, nation, spiritual readiness, depending on translation. Virgin appears about 68 times. Virgin. Virgins appear about 36 times. Virginity appears about 13 times. That gives you roughly 100 plus references across many translations. And what brought that to mind is when we were discussing Jephthah's wife, whose virginity is emphasized before she is sacrificed. Oh, thank you. A dear C hyphen 06I. Thank you, darling. And hello, cool underscore K-pop underscore lover. Hello, darlings. Welcome to the channel, love tubers. Well, she asked to mourn her virginity before fulfilling her father's vow for being the sacrifice. This is one of the strongest examples because the text repeats it to stress that she would never marry or bear children. Virgins, folks. Apparently, women have no say so, no body anatomy, no nothing. They don't have a right to anything in this book. At Liana Ariel. Thank you, darling. She said you're so cute. That is given to the Benjaminites. It was brutal, very brutal reading. I'm so glad I got through it. I'm so glad none of it is real. When we talked about it earlier today, that is like you going to Coachella, you dancing, you are in your joy, and somebody comes in and snatches up 400 virgins. First of all, how you know they virgins? You know what? Okay, we'll have to talk about the 400 later. So at this point, we got Genesis 19:8. Lot giving up his 2 virgin daughters. Do y'all even think anything of these virgins? Genesis 24:16, Rebecca is described as a virgin before she marries Isaac. Exodus 22:16, the dowry of virgins, laws involving seduction and marriage. Deuteronomy 22:13-21, detailed laws about proving a bride's virginity. It's laughable. This one is huge because it shows how virginity was tied to family honor, inheritance, and social control. How it was tied to family honor. Inheritance should be called stolen land. And we are definitely right with the social control. Numbers 31:18, virgins spared after war. This is another deeply disturbing section. 31:18 and 31:35. Kings and Esther. 1 Kings 1:2. We haven't got the Kings yet. We're about to enter Ruth tomorrow, since we just finished Judges today. But a young virgin is sought for King David. 1 King 1:2. Esther 2. Young virgins are gathered for King Ahasuerus. Book of Esther story, essentially a royal beauty competition with political implications, prophetic, poetic uses. These often use virgin symbolically. Psalm 45:14, Song of Solomon 1:3, 6:8, Lamentations 1:2, Isaiah 7:14, the virgin shall conceive, later connected to Mary and Jesus in Christian interpretation. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Amos, Israel of cities described as virgin daughter of Zion, etc. This is symbolic language for purity, loss, or covenant identity. New Testament, Matthew 25:1-13, the famous 10 virgins. 5 wise, 5 foolish. Gospel of Matthew uses virgin symbolically for spiritual readiness. Luke 1, Mary and virgin birth narrative. Acts 21:9. Philip's 4 daughters were virgins and prophets. Oh, you know what else happened in Judges? They tried to give the virgin daughter away again, just like they did in Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't think these writers, that nobody who knows who they are, liked women very much. Anyway, 1 Corinthians 7, Paul discusses marriage and virgins. Revelation 14:4, there are virgins, highly symbolic and debated passage. What virgin really means. Marriage economics, stolen land, inheritance and bloodline, just call it what it is. Family honor, I don't know how that's being honorable, but yeah. Control of women's sensuality, we're going to call it sensuality for YouTube. Spiritual symbolism of purity, bride imagery for covenant. That's why it appears so often. It was never just about the hot box. We're going to call it the hot box. It was about property, lineage, power, and religious symbolization. Yeah, honey, because that box was hot. All right, so the uncomfortable truth. Reading Judges line by line makes this obvious, which is why I paused at the daughter, which she now is supposed to supposedly have a celebration. You know what else got to me in Judges? That poor concubine. Y'all just took her against her will, gave her to the men, and then just in little bitty pieces all across everywhere. Y'all are just dirty, whoever wrote this book. Okay, so women were often treated as bargaining chips, war prizes, covenant symbols, political assets, not as full autonomous people. That's one reason many modern readers hit Judges and say, wait, this is way darker than church ever taught. Because it is. All right. So, in Judges 11 and 21, we see some of the clearest examples of that darkness. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So, the child sacrifice in Judges 11. Okay. Jephthah, I hope I'm saying her name right, makes a vow that if he wins battle, he will offer as a burnt offering whatever first comes out of his house to greet him. After victory, his only child, only daughter, comes out first. She asked for 2 months to mourn her virginity. And then the text says he did to her according to his vow. That's why many interpret it as it being a sacrifice. Some people argue that it was a dedication to temple service. I don't care what some people say. I can read literature, and in black and white, it clearly says sacrificed as a burnt offering his only daughter. Now, I don't know what y'all think that got anything to do with God, but that's a no for me in my book. Okay. All right. So in Judges 21, the surviving virgins are taken and assigned to men after the war that should not be happening. But anyway, which creates a second brutal example of women being treated as property rather than persons. We're going out kicking and screaming. Yeah, ain't no way. And then we discussed something I never knew about today earlier, and it was called red tents. And I will have to get into that a little bit deeper later. I wrote it in my reflections. But and red tent explained to me is when the ladies get together during their lovely womb time of the month is what I'm going to call that, the womb time. The men don't come in, they don't interfere, and they all spend the time together, and things happen during that time. Like if you get together enough during that time, I'm going to call it the moon cycle. The moon cycle starts to sync together. We don't know why that happens, but it does. But yeah, y'all just going ahead and taking folks. So my question was, how many types of these type of sacrifices or attempts of sacrifice are in the Bible, in which scriptures? There are several major passages involving sacrifice, attempted sacrifice, vowed sacrifice, or children being offered in the Bible. Some are presented as condemned practices, and a few are narrated in shocking ways that force the reader to wrestle with them. You don't say. Did any of y'all hand y'all children the Bible? Y'all might want to read it. Before you do that, I would highly suggest. Let's see here. Major sacrifices. Abraham and Isaac, Genesis 22, 1 through 19. We just went through Jephthah's daughter, Judges 11, 30 to 40. King of Moab sacrifices his son, 2 Kings 3, 26 to 27. A horrifying wartime ritual. Children passed through fire to Moloch, Leviticus 18:21. Oh, that was the worst book ever, full of rituals. Leviticus 22:5, Deuteronomy 12:31, Deuteronomy 18:10, repeated laws forbid sacrifices children to Moloch. This means it was common enough to require repeated bans. Ahaz sacrifices his son, 2 Kings 16:3, so we talk about him passing through the fire. Manasseh sacrifices his son, 2 Kings 21:6, 2 Chronicles 33:6. This is also condemned heavily. Valley of Hinnom, Topheth, Jeremiah 7:31, Jeremiah 19:5, Jeremiah 32:35. I'm not going to be able to go into depth there, but I'm so glad it's not real in regards to these children mentioned. Whew! All right. This later becomes part of the Gehenna imagery. Psalm reflections. Psalm 106, 37 to 38. This is direct condemnation. Ezekiel's disturbing language, Ezekiel 20, 25 through 26. In regards to the firstborn. Hannah and Samuel, 1 Samuel 1. Dedication. She gives Samuel to lifelong service, sometimes compared to Jephthah's daughter. So still a sacrifice. Firstborn consecration, Exodus 13:2, Exodus 22:29, Exodus 34:19 to 20. Firstborn belong to God, whatever God they have going on in this Bible, which is clearly not a God of love. But redemption replaces literal sacrifice. This may reflect older sacrificial systems being transformed. Why this keeps appearing? Because sacrifice was tied to war, inheritance, divine favor, kingship, fertility, and covenant fear. It was economics plus religion plus bloodline politics, not just faith. The Bible doesn't hide this. It preserves attempted sacrifice, condemned sacrifice, king's performance sacrifice, vows that destroy daughters. Children treated as offerings. Judges hit me harder than the rest of them books, okay? Let's see here. And Jephthah's daughter is one of the sharpest wounds in the whole text. Now, I also noticed the love of 304's in the Bible. That's what they call them. That's the slang we got for the heaven on earths. Y'all can read between some lines, okay? The heaven, we call them heaven on earth today, all right? Or 304's. Lady of the Night. I don't know why it would be called that, because you can be a freak any time of the day. And I was just singing Cinderella, Girls Just Want to Have Fun on the way here with my Uber driver. So we're just going to call her Lady of the Night, but I think you get the point, okay? So, because by the time we left Rahab, I was like, we're in Judges. We got some more. And then I didn't know Samson and Delilah. I like Delilah. Uh, Delilah got paid, baby. Yeah. Yeah, I put that in my reflections. I had to go Google how much she got paid and everything. It's not in this one right here, I don't think, but baby, she was able to live a nice, long, healthy, wealthy life by the time she got done with Samson. Okay. Yeah, how many's in this Bible? So the language around that harlotry, whoredom shows up constantly in the Bible, both literally and symbolically. Depending upon translation, King James, NIV, there's a lot of versions of Bibles out there, just in case y'all didn't know. ESV, etc. The exact count shifts because some versions use ladies of the night, the P word. We're going to call it that, the P word. Harlot, whore, whoredom, fornication, harlotry, cult, the P word. And the P word's wages. Across translations, you're looking at well over 150 references. And if you include symbolic whoredom language in the prophets, it climbs much higher. In older translations like King James, whore and harlot dominate. In modern translations, the P word is used more often. Rahab, the P word. I can get used to this. Joshua 2, Joshua 6, Matthew 1, Hebrews 11:31. James 2:25. Rahab is repeatedly called the P word. She becomes one of the most famous examples. She is later honored in the lineage of Jesus. This creates a major theological tension. I talked previously about her, the turncoat. Yes, honey, because if I'm the P word, we are taking all the suitors with us in the house. Ain't none of us staying behind or getting left behind, all right? Tamar and her being disguised as the P word. Genesis 38. Tamar veils herself and is treated as the P word to secure justice from Judah. This story is layered with inheritance, politics, and survival. Samson and the P word. Judges 16:1. Samson goes to Gaza and visits his favorite P word. Very direct and often skipped in sermons. I had no clue Samson was so destructive. But going through Judges, reading it line by line, I'm like, you know what? He might have some rage buttons up in there somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. All right, the two P words before Solomon, 1 Kings 3:16-28, two come before Solomon over the disputed child. This becomes a famous wisdom judgment story. That's actually another one of my favorite stories. Gomer and Hosea 1-3. Hosea is told to marry Gomer, described as a promiscuous woman, wife of whoredom. This becomes symbolic of Israel's covenant unfaithfulness. Prophets and whoredom. Ezekiel 16, Ezekiel 23, Jeremiah 3, Isaiah 1, Nahum 3, Revelation 17. Cities and nations are called the P word. Harlots, whores, adulteresses. Especially Babylon the Great, the P word. You know how they used to have, I don't know if y'all watch this, but I love Pam Grier. And she used to play in the L word. Okay, it was a bunch of lesbians. And then when COVID came along, I would call it the C word. So now we got the P word. So, yeah. Revelation 17, this is symbolic, political, religious language, not sensual morality alone, often empire, adultery, and betrayal. Cult, the B word. Deuteronomy 23:17-18, 1 Kings 14-24, because y'all do know the Bible's copywritten, and I didn't write down the web version that's not copyrighted, but most folks got a Bible book on their shelf, or even the hotels have the Bible in the drawer, okay? 2 Kings 23:7 at the hotel. Anyway, represents the temple, the P word, and cult, the P word. Religion, sexy, and economics were often intertwined. Why it appears so much? Because the P word in biblical language often means literal, the P word work. We're going to call it adult entertainment. Okay, it means adult entertainment. You are doing some paid works in the bedroom or wherever it is you want to do them at. Idolatry, political betrayal, covenant unfaithfulness, women surviving under patriarchy, empire, and exploitation. It is often less about morality and more about power, survival, control, and symbolic accusation. The uncomfortable truth again. Women in these texts are often labeled by their sensual history, used as symbols for national sin, which there is no such thing as sin, blamed for collective failure, economically trapped, and yet some, like Rahab and Tamar, become central to divine lineage. That contradiction is important. The Bible simultaneously condemns, uses, and depends on women it labels unclean. The tension never really goes away. Another thing I noticed is the men having multiple wives and or concubines. The few chapters before these two chapters started to get very detailed. Yes, and once you reach Book of Judges and keep moving forward, the pattern gets impossible to ignore. Polygamy, concubines, captured women, widows assigned to brothers, virgins taken after war. The Bible often describes these systems without necessarily endorsing them, but the women in the story still live the consequences. This happens constantly. Early patriarchs, Abraham, wife Sarah, concubines, secondary union Hagar, later wife Keturah. Already we see stolen drama and status battles. Jacob, wives, Leah plus Rachel plus servants functioning as secondary wives, Bilhah plus Zilpah. This is basically reproductive politics. Judge gets darker. Gideon, Judge 8:30-31. He had many wives, at least one concubine, and 70 sons. That tells you how power and women were linked. By the way, 70, where are the daughters? Okay. Wives' names not mentioned. You know what? Samson, his relationship moves through wives, sexy workers, and political seduction. I was with Samson, I view him in my mind. I view Samson was probably very, very masculine and handsome and kept his body in excellent shape, and he liked to whore around. And I said, why ain't he got some chillins? Yeah, because if these ladies are seducing you like this, and they're able to nick you enough till they get the secrets to your hair, you ought to have a child or two running around here somewhere. So that was one of my thoughts. We may have to dig into that later. The Levite and his concubine, Judges 19, one of the darkest chapters in the Bible. His concubine, that's the one I talked about at the beginning, where things like that should not be in a Bible written by a loving God. I mean, there's just no way. All right. I'm so glad this is not real. Kings become extreme. David, multiple wives, concubines. Michal, Bathsheba, Abigail, many others. This creates enormous political chaos. Solomon, 1 Kings 11:3, 700 wives, 300 concubines. This is empire through marriage alliances. At this point, it's politics more than romance.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Public computers will shut down automatically 5 minutes before closing. If you have any materials to be checked out, please take them to the circulation desk at this time. If you need assistance finding materials, please come to the information desk.
All right. I feel like I live at the library. Everybody knows my name like it's Cheers. Anyway, laws around it. Deuteronomy 21, inheritance rules for multiple wives, stolen land. Exodus 21:10, rights of a first wife if another is taken. Deuteronomy 25, levirate marriage, brother marrying widow. The law regulates it because it was normal. Concubine does not equate to girlfriend. A concubine usually means a recognized partner for pleasure in that area, lower legal status than wife, often less inheritance protection, often tied to slavery, war, capture, or class. She was attached, but not equal. That distinction matters. What we've seen in Judges, the deeper that I read, is women were treated as inheritance channels, alliance tools, get it on property, covenant symbols, and political resources, not primarily as autonomous individuals. One of the biggest modern misconceptions, and we're going to close it out here. Biblical marriage equals ideal marriage, but the text itself shows rivalry, coercion, abandonment, concubinage, forced unions, war brides, and violence. It is messy, not romanticized, especially in Judges. Judges is basically social collapse with theology attached, and it gets worse before it gets better. All right, we're going to end right there for today. The next time I'm on here, I want to talk about in depth why the roles don't flip in regards for the men and the women. Because I want to know, y'all getting to go have all this fun. When do the women get to go have some fun? Duh. So, I have some questions in regards to flipping the roles. So that will be what I discuss next time. I thank you for spending time with me, lovies. I'm going to call my chariot because it's raining outside and brown sugar melts in the rain, okay? But thank you for joining me and have an exceptional rest of your Tuesday. Mwah.